Welcome to the Essentially You podcast. Dr. Marisol, how are you doing today, girl?
Girl, I'm doing so great. It's so good to be with a friend. Good to see you.
So good to see you as well. Happy 2021.
Yeah, it's a great year. I can't wait for this one.
Yes, it is. It is a new year. It is a great year. Now, real quick, this is my first interview. We were just talking about this since I gave birth to Kingston, who is 5 weeks old this week. And so it's so nice to get to see people because I'm sure you've been locked in your house. I definitely know I've been locked in my house. And it's been beautiful, but I've been with this baby this whole time. So I'm really excited to get to see you today. We are talking all things digestion, liver, detox, hormones in relation to castor oil packs. Alex and I use ours all the time. So I'm so excited to talk about this. And I've talked about castor oil packs on several different podcasts and sent them over your way because you are my go-to girl. I love your pack. I love everything about it. And so it's being brought up. It's in the new book that's coming out, girl.
Easy.
It mentioned your castor oil packs are mentioned 4 times in the new book.
Wow.
Yes, pushing them back to because a little resource section in the book. So we're getting people to handle that and get hooked up. So let's start by talking about kind of what was the defining moment for you when you knew you wanted to focus on gut health and then move into this beautiful tool.
It's so incredible because, you know, everyone who ever is in natural health or really has a big, strong mission, they're here because they suffered. You know, like I found myself, I called it, I was in prison, you know, I was in pain in my body. I was suffering digestively mainly, and then also hormonally. So I was a hormonal disaster, hair growing in inappropriate places. You know, I was having hot flashes, like almost as though I was in menopause at 26. It was such a horrendous existence. And I literally felt like all my dreams, everything that I wanted to achieve were just basically like crumbling away in this jail cell of my body. And it took me literally walking into health food stores, you know, seeing all these different practitioners, people telling me that there was nothing that I could do. And then one day being in a health food store and looking at the bottom of the shelf and seeing this dusty bottle of oil called castor oil, right? And I was like, well, what is that? And then I started asking and inquiring, and people started telling me about it and how it goes when you ask about something in a health food store or to friends, or, you know, everyone has their opinion. But the cool thing was that everyone was like, oh yeah, that's like the oldest trick in the book and it works really, really good for the gut. But the problem is it's all messy and it's a disaster. And, you know, so I quickly forgot about it. And then fast forward years later, I'm in naturopathic school because I was so fed up of trying to figure it out that I'm like, I'm going to go to school and I'm going to figure it out for myself, because I'm not someone who waits, right? Like you and I were those types of people. We're like, let's figure it out, girl. And so I went back to school. The stress of school was enormous. At the time, I really started investigating like what my stools were doing, because, you know, I was learning physiology, learning all those great things. And I started really like connecting like what was happening in the bathroom to what I was feeling. And so I really started to kind of make a guidepost or a map as to what my stools were telling me about my health at that point in time, and researching it in terms of like nutrient deficiencies, you know, what could I deduce from it? So I started becoming almost like a Sherlock Holmes of poo. Like, it's an awesome title, but that's what I was. And the thing was, though, that I was so hardcore and constantly working and constantly studying and wanting to be the best, which so many of us fall into the trap of, that by 3rd year, I was totally exhausted, couldn't get out of bed, and I was done. Not only was I a hormonal disaster, I was a disaster in the bathroom. Like, you know, I either couldn't go to the bathroom at all, or I just went too much. And then I just couldn't get out of bed. And I was faced with the choice of, you know, either not finishing school, you know, all this time I've invested, all this money, all this work, or like I either don't go back to school, or I try to figure out for one last go, that one last, you know, run to the finish line, like what is going to help me? Because here I am, you know, doing all the right supplements, or even a lot more supplements than I even should be taking, trying to do all the right food, trying to do all the right exercises. But the thing was that I lacked something to actually, you know, work my systems together. And that was the big problem. And what had happened was that a light bulb went on in my mind. And it reminded me of those days back in the health food stores of all those people who had told me about castor oil packs. And then even my 3rd year course on, you know, treatment for all the different conditions, that every single protocol for every single person, whether it was a hormonal problem or an immune problem or a nervous system problem, it always ended up with, and don't forget to do a castor oil pack. And I was like, you know, like, like, what if this one thing could be the thing that changes everything? And, I was like, okay, if it is, I've got nothing to lose right now, because I've been spending thousands of dollars on supplements and thousands of dollars on everything else and every practitioner under the sun, and I'm still in the same situation. So I said, I'm going to do it. But what ended up happening was that I wasn't prepared to do it the old way, because it was just too messy. And that was what initially stopped me from doing it. Because if anyone out there has heard of a castor oil pack or ever done a castor oil pack, that was the biggest problem before I changed things. Because back then it was like, a 12-step program to kind of fix your liver. And it would just take so long, and it was such a commitment, and you could only do it lying down, and all these rules around it that just didn't make sense to me. So I finally just made it simple. I made it doable, and I put the castor oil pack over my liver. I laid myself down, and within literally a minute, it felt to me like something that I'd never felt or experienced in my life before, which the best way I can describe it was that literally the sky opened up and the angels began to sing. So like literally that Bible story. And it was relaxation. It was a sensation of, complete calmness, complete integration of all of my systems of my body, everything working and flowing well. And I realized, that I had actually probably never experienced that since I was a child, since before all the traumas of growing up, all the traumas of school, all the traumas that happened to us throughout our lives, right? That really start to put and move our bodies into a stressful state that really keeps us inhibited and keeps all of our systems, our hormonal system, our digestive system, our immune system, it keeps them all stuck. And so my body was just stuck. And what I needed was something to start to move my systems in the right direction. And that was the castor oil pack. And so from that moment on, I literally did the castor oil pack every single night. Within a couple of weeks, I started to feel better. I could get out of bed. I could move again. I felt like my supplements were working better. I felt like everything that I was doing and investing so much time were just working that much better. And it literally changed my life. So from that moment on, I started standing, I guess, on a soapbox and just telling everyone about doing these castor oil packs. And I decided in that third year to actually bring the product to market. I'm going to do this, because if I believe in it this much, then I got to bring this to market and bring this to the people. And more importantly, bring it to my patients, because my patients were just like me, where they didn't want to do it either unless there was an easy way to do it. And so that's literally what got me there was, figuring it out for myself, because I was in such rough shape. And then realizing that, my patients were a reflection of me, and they were in the same prison, and that I needed to bring them into their palace. And the only way to do that was, of course, supplements and those things, but I needed to also address the systems. And I always felt that was what's missing within our medicine.
Well, talk to me about, because I know so many people have a sense of, they've heard of it. They've heard of castor oil, but they're not exactly sure what's in it or what it's doing. And yes, I think when we think about castor oil, we'll probably think mostly about the gut and the liver, which to me are two very important organ systems in the body. So talk to me about the integration of how castor oil supports the gut and liver, and then what about castor oil really helps to bring those benefits to light for people.
Awesome. And you're so right. Like the way that people, when I bring up castor oil, people are like, oh, like my grandmother used to give me, because apparently everyone's grandmother gave them castor oil by a spoonful whenever they couldn't go to the bathroom, or even in some cultures, like just to clean out the bowels once a week, right? So that's how people know castor oil. And then the other misconception is that, oh, is that beaver oil? But it's not beaver oil. It comes from a plant, so it's 100% vegan, right? So these are kind of the misconceptions. Castor oil is this incredible plant oil that is one of the only carrier oils that can actually go deep into the tissues. So it's the very best carrier oil. And because it can go deep into the tissues, it has a lot of effect on the liver and the digestive system. But you don't get the full effect of the castor oil pack by just drinking the oil, which is the next question I get, right? Which is, can I just drink the oil, or can I just pop a pill instead? And here's the thing, we have so much faith in these supplements and pills, and they are wonderful. But what they do is they supplement our systems, right? They're not going to, rebalance our systems. They simply supplement them. Because think about it, a supplement is the size of like a quarter of your fingernail. at the end of the day. And, your digestive tract, it spans the length of a football field, right? That's a huge amount of real estate. So how can we expect a little supplement that is like a quarter of a fingernail, even taken 1 to 3 times a day? How is that going to exert the effect on the entire, real estate of the digestive system? And then the liver, which is the second biggest organ after the skin. Like, to me, there was a big disconnect. But when you wear a castor oil pack, you're actually spanning the entire aspect of the liver, which is the second largest organ of the body. And because you're spanning the entire real estate of that organ, and the oil is moving deeply through the lymphatic system, through that first layer, deep into the lymphatic system, and actually in like having face time with that organ, it's actually locally reducing inflammation. It is, bringing nitric oxide, which then brings circulation to the area. And the liver is this powerhouse organ, the second biggest organ of the body that can regenerate itself. It's the only organ that can do that. And it has the ability to clean out hormones, which is so very important. It's absolutely necessary in this day and age, especially for women, and especially for women as they get older into, perimenopause, menopause, because we tend to build up our toxins as we age. So this liver has so much work to do, but bringing all that circulation to the area with the nitric oxide, helping to reduce inflammation so that the liver can just do its job a lot better, does wonders for the entire system in terms of eliminate out more, and then not only helping the liver, but then helping the bowels, because castor oil actually stimulates prostaglandin and progesterone receptors in the digestive tract, which actually move the bowels, and it makes you poo better, which is a huge acid whenever anyone is having issues with any type of hormones.
Love that. I love that. And then talk to me, one of the other ways that I've been recommending your castor oil packs, Dr. Marisol, is over the uterus, over our reproductive system. Can you talk to me a little bit about some of the benefits there that can help women, especially when we're cycling? And especially as we move into perimenopause, where we see estrogen dominance, we see heavier periods, maybe even fibroids. Talk to me about that.
Love that. Love that. Yeah, this is one of the traditional uses of castor oil packs, because you see, castor oil packs, people think they just started in the 1900s, but they've actually been used since Egyptian era, back in the traditional Chinese medicine era of the emperors. I mean, the history of these packs is enormous. Like, it really spans long humanity. And the biggest use was actually from the medicine men, Pliny the Elder, to the Roman emperors. And they would use castor oil packs a lot. Like, that was like one of their number one treatments for women, female hormonal problems. And they would use them for uterus problems as well as ovary problems, which I thought was so amazing when I was looking into the history of it all. And here's the thing, women have such an issue as they're getting older in perimenopause and menopause, and it's their estrogen progesterone balance that really causes the big issues. Women in general in our day and age have lower levels of progesterone and higher levels of estrogen. There's just this, key to estrogen dominance just seen throughout womanhood in this day and age, just because of our environment. And with that estrogen dominance and low progesterone, what ends up happening is women, the biggest thing is they can't poop. Like, that's the biggest symptom that they have. And that just causes a whole domino effect where they can't poop, and then they can't remove out that excess estrogen that they got to get out of their body. And then it just keeps on recirculating in their system, and then they start getting more hot flashes, more night sweats, and then worse, they actually start getting a development of things like fibroids that basically just keep on building with more and more estrogen in their bodies. And I've seen patients who have fibroids the size of watermelons. I mean, that is not a fun thing to be experiencing. Fibroids that, protrude and make your belly look so much bigger than they actually should. And truly, the conventional treatment is, remove it. But, many people aren't really willing to go under the knife right away. And, you need to take that as a case per case basis. But the main goal here is what can we do naturally to actually help reduce it? Of course, amazing strategies like reducing your estrogens, those help. But is there anything we can do topically? Well, of course there is. There's castor oil packs you can do topically. And those castor oil packs, what they are amazing to do is that they actually, because they change the environment of the system, of the hormonal system that is within the uterus and within the ovaries, they're changing the environment. So they're changing the inflammation that is occurring. They're, working with prostaglandins. And when women are having cycling issues, you can even work with your castor oil pack to help regulate the cycles, basing them on the moon. So there's so many great ways to work with it. And I've seen so many times when women, as they're changing and approaching into perimenopause and menopause, that we can actually slow that process down, balance out all their symptoms, And when you slow the process down of moving into menopause, well, you stay younger longer, which is great. Your bones stay healthier longer, and your skin stays healthier longer, smoother for a greater period of time. So this is amazing just by using castor oil packs topically because of the effect it has on the environment in terms of improving progesterone, balancing out that over-estrogen dominance, and keeping you having healthier hormones for longer so that you can live and feel better longer. So good.
I love it. One of the things I know we talked about, especially when we're dealing with, PMS symptoms, we're dealing with our cycle, is that we can like get rid of some of that congestion, like something that could be built up. Does that have a lot to do with the connection to the lymphatics as well down in the reproductive system?
Yeah, 100%. Because see, like what moves in the lymphatic system is actually oil and fat. And castor oil, well, it's an oil, and it's that oil that can go through that layers of skin. And so then when it moves into the lymphatic system, it's able to do its job and wonderfully well. And of course, the majority of our lymph nodes are all within our abdomen, right? Especially within the uterine pelvic area. And then of course, above the liver, not with all the digestive organs. So that's why castor oil packs are so effective in that digestive region, because everything is infiltrating to all the different organs, including many women wear for hormonal problems in their ovaries and uterus, they still wear it over the liver because they're still getting an effect of it on the liver, because the liver is just so powerful. And that liver is what at the end of the day is cleaning up all the tissues, and a clean body is a healthy body, right? So just super powerful. One thing to note, and this is a big misconception, and I think it's a myth that really needs to be busted, is that many women think that when they have their period, they can't do their castor oil pack. It's this big myth that's been spread around like a contagious virus, basically. What happens with this is that, women, if they are very toxic and they have been having, really tough periods, that's a big sign that their body hasn't been cleaning up properly and they are so congested. Well, you don't necessarily want to start the castor oil pack the first time on that period. You actually want to do it a little bit before. So I always recommend, do it right after you start have that menses, after you bleed, then start your castor oil pack, and then do it for the month moving up into your period. And then many report that they find that their period is so much smoother, so much softer, and then the next consecutive months, they don't get the symptoms like they used to have the symptoms. So that is super cool, but just be aware that if you are a woman who is super congested, that first time, if you are doing it during your period, you might feel a little bit more symptoms. So just be aware and just wait until you're done that cycle and then do the castor oil pack and get more benefit longer for your health overall with that.
Okay, good. Good to know. Now, I want to just go back to detoxification, because you and I both know it's, again, we live in our environment, we're having exposures all the time, and those toxins are what's really causing issues, not only within our gut and our liver, but then throughout the entire body. And it's really ensuring that we are basically, our ability to remove those toxins are working properly, right? Our kind of those chimney shoots are working properly. And so let's just say most people know that their liver could use a little love. We talk a lot about this on the podcast, that most of us, our livers are working overtime and we really aren't caring for it like we should. There's tools that we can leverage. And I think that nutrition's a big part of it. I think teas are a big part of it. Supplementation's a big part of it. Castor oil packs, like you've just got to have your tools aligned so that you're ready to tackle this however you feel and deem fit. So for us, we do all the things. I think that those are all big wins. So let's say someone is they're knowing that something's not right with their bodies. They're feeling, so often I meet women that are dealing with constipation, either occasional or more consistent than that, or they just know they've got something going on in their gut. What is the recommendation for getting started when it comes to, let's say I want to jump and do this, I want to give this a go. For us, like how I've done it, like remember when I first started, based on your recommendations, that I did it for 7 days in a row. And then I was doing it once or twice a week. Yeah. That was kind of how my husband and I have done, Alex has done it. But I wanted to see if that was kind of still on the same track or if there were other recommendations.
Yeah, it's a great topic to discuss. And here's the big thing that I do want to add there is that, people are, we all have problems in our digestive system. We all have a gut that's damaged, right? Because we can't avoid it. Like our food isn't perfect. And, even if and we're not going to ever be perfect. Like this is just not the world we live in, right? Like we have lives, we're busy. This is just our world. So we have to do everything with grace. But if we're only just taking teas and supplements and things orally, the problem is we're trying to absorb all these wonderful things with a gut that just doesn't have absorbability power. Like it is damaged, it is inflamed. Like how can anything that is inflamed, red, and scarred be able to absorb things well, right? You're only going to be getting a little portion of those supplements. You'll be getting a portion of that great organic food you're trying to do, a portion of all the things. So when you're doing that castor oil pack, it's actually helping to heal your gut from the outside in. So all of your supplements are going to be working that much better. So all the hundreds and thousands that you're spending on those supplements, which is valuable and you need them, but you want to get the maximum amount of benefit from them. So that castor oil pack is such a key to everything that you're doing to working better. And again, it's because the supplements are supportive, but the castor oil pack is a system that helps your systems all work better. So, that number one is the most absolute key. And then when people are starting, I don't even see patients unless they do two things. They do a castor oil pack and they absolutely do a physical exam, because I want to be able to see the most best information about them and be able to treat them properly and adequately. And I know that if they're not doing castor oil packs, I'm going to have an uphill battle trying to climb Mount Everest without any equipment, with a snowstorm and an avalanche coming at me, and then the abominable snowman in my way. I know it's this massive uphill battle. So what I do is I start people, on a regular practice. That 7 days is key. And the reason why that 7 days is key, especially initially, is that, the castor oil pack has an effect on your microbiome. This is another one of the awesome benefits we didn't even speak about. And again, castor oil packs do so many different things, and they do so many different things because they get the system working properly. And when your systems work properly, well, then all the dominoes just start to fall into place. And one of those major dominoes in the digestive tract is your microbiome, the good bacteria that you want to be working on your side, because that microbiome, hey, they balance out your estrogens in your gut. They balance out so many different processes. They even make supplements for you naturally. They make you B vitamins. So how amazing is that? And when you're doing this castor oil pack, you're fixing up that microbiome, your whole body can work better. And that 7-day period is so essential, because nitric oxide takes about a 7-day period to actually have an anti-candida or an anti-yeast effect in the gut. And the bad bacteria that, is beating out the good bacteria in your body is oftentimes yeast or, other types of bad bacteria. They all come into play. But yeast is usually a big issue, and people are often calling it I've got candida in my gut. And so that 7-day period allows for an antifungal effect in the gut and really helps to reset your microbiome, which puts you in a whole different planet, in a whole different direction, like a new direction in your health, absorbing things better. Your microbiome starts to engage and work better for you in your direction. So a minimum of that 7 days to begin with. And then after that, really, I still say to my patients, try to do it every single night. And the reason I say that is because if I say do it every single night, they're going to do it about 3 to 5 days during the week. So I'm a big, I try to overestimate for them. And then that way, in the hopes that they at least do it 3 to 5 times a week. And then, I approach them with grace as well too. I don't let them feel negative about them not doing it every night. I just say whatever you are doing is better than not doing it. And you're human, and that's fine, and I love you, and I hear you, and I see you, but at least do it, try to do it at least 2 to 3 nights a week, at the very least, ideally 3 to 5, and even better if you're doing it nightly, because, what you're doing when you do that repetitive practice is that you are training your systems to work better and more optimally. You're not just targeting an organ, you're not just targeting a mechanism, a biochemistry mechanism, you're training the systems. And an athlete has to train its muscles to create a memory so that when it goes to the Olympics, it can just automatically make it happen. It can do that long jump better than ever because it has been practicing and training, and that muscle has memory. The more that you do the castor oil pack and you are training your systems, you are training your nervous system to move rapidly into the relaxed state so that you can heal. You're training your immune system and your microbiome to work rapidly and to keep on working in this right function. And you are training your hormonal system to have a good balance of progesterone as compared to estrogen, so that you can poo better, you can be calm, you can have less hot flashes, you can feel better, less night sweats, and you can actually sleep through the night, which is a big win.
Awesome. I love it. All right, my dear. Well, I feel like we have a great sense of how it all works and how often we should be doing it. I know that, definitely being consistent, all things, it's really about consistency that really makes the game change. So I want to know a little bit about where can we plug in, not only plug into you, but where do we plug in to, and I know where to get it, but I want you to tell the people.
Course. Of course. Well, of course, you can find us at Queen of the Thrones on Instagram, on Facebook, any of those social platforms, YouTube. You can find us, no problem. Lots of education there about castor oil packs. We go deep down into all the aspects of it for all of the hormonal conditions. And of course, on my website, drmarisol.com. And of course, I'm always up to giving you something to give your people. So we'll probably organize something for you, and then they can link to it from the podcast notes for sure.
Wonderful, wonderful. I love that. Awesome.
Yeah.
And I know really quickly, in case people want to learn more, because I know they can find you on social, we'll have the links in the show notes as well. But I also know that you had written a new book that kind of goes into it. Can you just say what the book is?
Oh, it's a wonderful name, and some people might need to plug their ears, but it is Oh Shit. And the reason I called that is because it is the 3 steps to help connect, clear, and calm your digestive system. And of course, I delve in completely into how the castor oil pack really does all those wonderful things that it does do. And, we of course, we talk about the myths and the things that people say about not doing castor oil packs and why you really should be doing them, most importantly. And, we have a great little offer that we can give your people as well for my book. So that's the best part. So make sure you guys take a look at that.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, Dr. Marisol, honey, it was such a pleasure to have you on. Again, I have loved your castor oil packs. I know that my audience have loved them. We talk about them in our detox. It's just been a big part. Again, I think it's such a powerful tool, as you said, to really help integrate the system and to help really get the results we're looking for. I know how it feels when your digestive system isn't working. I know many of us can relate to the bloating, the constipation, the thing that just not feeling super great. And to be able to have this incredible asset, this incredible holistic tool that is easy to use. I have found it to be so easy to use. I have found it to not be super messy at all. And I love that you've created something that we can easily implement into our lives as a part of one of our detox protocols and one of our healing protocols. So thank you, honey.
Yeah, the best thing is the big 3 wins of the castor oil pack are sleep better, poop better, and feel better, less stress. Like, those are huge wins, right?
Yes, they are.
Awesome.
All right, honey. I'll see you soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, Dr. Maritza. Ciao.